Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 51 of Huell's Gold. I'm Chris.
I'm Alan.
And we are keeping it cool.
Not as cool as Huell.
No one's as cool as Huell, especially when he's in the pool. We could go on.
What if he spelled his name Hool?
Cool. I'm surprised, like seeing him in the beginning of this episode, number 512, keeping cool while he's standing in a pool. If he hadn't have been into TV, he could have gotten into the pool cleaning game and had the perfect name, Huell's Pools. It's just done. It's totally his market to.
Well, that could be anyone else's market out there that's thinking about starting a pool business. Why not?
Don't start it here because you'll be in direct competition with my family and we'll take you down. but really, Huell does seem pretty happy in this pool here at the what do you call it? I know I wrote it down. Oh, the Marriott Desert Springs Resort and Spa in Palm Desert.
That's right. And I'm going to say this right now.
What?
This is where beautiful people do not come to cool off.
Why do you say that?
Did you see the background?
Yeah.
They definitely got the top tier to come to the right just behind Huell.
Yeah.
The couple,
the lady in the bikini that Huell was kind of chatting up right before he started.
Yeah.
And then the cutesy kid who like floats past. It's a very idyllic start to this episode.
Okay, so before we move on, two things.
What do you got?
He's wearing a T-shirt in the pool. Are we not going to talk about this?
It's funny because as buff as his stuff is, Huell never once appears shirtless in any of the episodes.
The closest thing we get is the Kern River episode, or the Kernville.
Yeah, where he has the life preserver on.
Right, and he barely could fit his arm through the life
hole. Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, maybe he had some... maybe his chest hair was going gray the same as his head hair was, and he was like self-conscious about it.
Oh.
Or...
Nothing about that.
Or maybe that just was like something that they didn't want to have happen on PBS. Maybe it was a weird thing, because you can use Beatles songs and Rolling Stone songs all you want, but you can't take your shirt off.
Can't show your pecs.
I guess.
Well, that's one thing.
Okay.
Now that we've gotten to that. Second thing, he's holding a empty glass of something.
Oh, yeah. He was enjoying a cocktail, right?
Oh. I wasn't going that direction.
So no gray hair on the chest, no cocktails, you don't think?
No. I just had a flashback to Amboy when he was hot and he took that open mouth gulp of the lemonade.
I mean, it is an empty glass he's holding in the pool here.
Pure speculation. I'm going with lemonade. What are you going with? A screwdriver?
I see Huell as kind of like a Long Island iced tea kind of a guy.
Okay, I like that.
I've never had one myself.
I've smelled one.
Aaron gets them from time to time. I've never tried it because I just don't like drinking that much. But as he's walking out of frame, there's definitely some ice or lemons in that glass, that empty glass. So you might be more on the right track than me, but there's no way to tell these days.
No, well.
But what we can tell you is that Huell is going deep in the desert. And there's no one better to tell you what Huell's doing besides Huell himself. So, hit it, boy.
You know, these days when you visit Palm Springs or Palm Desert, or any of the desert communities, it seems like there's water everywhere. In addition to the pools, there are lots of fountains and artificial lakes and lush golf courses made possible by irrigation. In fact, the sprinkler system literally turns brown into green. But once you get out of these towns and onto the highways, there's very little green and a lot of brown, especially during the hot summer months.
Water. Water. I need water.
Well, I guess you can tell we needed to find some water and get some acting lessons pretty bad. And to get some water and cool off, our first stop was a place right in the middle of the desert. Located 20 miles northeast of Palm Springs, we arrived at an honest-to-goodness desert oasis. It's part of the Coachella Valley Preserve, and it's managed by the Nature Conservancy. It's called Thousand Palms Oasis, and it's provided a cool respite for hot, weary travelers for hundreds, if not thousands, of years.
Before we get going, we need to talk about the title here.
Okay.
Chapman has it listed as Keeping Cool.
Yes.
But Huell in the pool, no, I'm just kidding. Huell, in his narration, says keeping cool in the desert. Or maybe he does say in the pool. I don't know. Maybe
he says in the desert. This is not the first time that's happened, because there was an episode maybe like 5, 6, 7 ago where he said things that he called it like things that soar in the sky, but then Chapman called it wings over California. So I bet he kind of like says stuff in those intros, and then the producers have to be like, that's not going to fit in the TV guide. He will like, okay, just put whatever and just have to deal with him later. But
dude,
okay. So I left it in the clip. So you heard it.
And now we are physically watching it. Or
yeah. So the little Huell in the desert collapsing, calling out for water.
I got quater.
And then, like, at least he called out his own bad acting right afterward. But definitely worth seeing. It starts at about 2 minutes in. And what possessed him to do this?
Dude, I don't know. Okay, when I first watched it, it was a little cringe.
Well, yeah.
No doubt. But then I watched it again. Actually, it's not so bad. Now that I know that he recognizes it.
It's not that great either. Like, he is really kind of hamming it up. But either way, I think maybe he wanted to like add a little sizzle to this segment because it's a little dry on the content, even though the space they're going is a little wet. Because we're going to the Coachella Valley Springs Thousand Palms Oasis.
A.K.A. an honest-to-goodness desert oasis.
Yes. And that's how Huell describes it. And then he meets up with old Paula Chino. Is that?
Chai dough.
Chai dough. Okay.
Yeah, I have like chai tea and cookie dough.
Gotcha. Well, she calls it the Primo Oasis of all 13 that there were, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. First off, old Paula.
If you close your eyes, and imagine, what a person who would be isolated in the desert at a preserve would look like, I just think the average person would be pretty close.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In light of that, how would you describe her?
She's definitely swimming in those shorts. Them shorts is big. They're these big pleated khaki shorts. They're something that a archaeologist on a weekend would wear, I think. But to be honest, when you're in the desert and it's 120 degrees, wear what you got to wear. Like,
no, I agree with that, but this is my thing. First of all, the shirt tucked in, not the best look.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But why would you wear light-colored pants where if you were in the desert sweating, you could see. Not that she is, just to be clear.
Not
She's
at
not
all.
sweating. I'm just saying, I would not wear tan.
I mean, the same should be said to Huell on this day, since he wore his white jeans.
That's true. That's very true. But, I mean, look, she's wearing, how would you describe those? They're like Dickie pants.
Yeah, yeah.
Dickie shorts, I guess.
It's actually a look that my mom had a lot back in the day. Do you remember me describing me and my sister being taken to powwows and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Making beads and whatnot?
Yeah, because my mom owned the bead store. This is the look that she would have when she would take us to these.
Oh, so you know this well.
Very well. Yeah. While she was this is the person I was asking to buy snow cones, to buy me snow cones. Mom, buy me one with your shorts. There's money in them, I'm sure.
Got big pockets.
My mom doesn't listen to this show, so I'm not scared. Either way, one thing about this section is it's really kind of hard to see what's going on. The camera is really having a hard time with a high contrast from dark to light. So,
right, but Huell does mention this. Well, the first thing that he says is, and I'll get back to like the contrast.
Yeah.
As he says, I don't think there are 1,000 palms here.
Okay, yeah, I was going to bring this up too.
Which is
and Paula says, like, yeah, I haven't counted them. Okay.
I feel like she should have, but
we'll get in there.
Okay.
Because as we go into the Oasis itself, Huell also mentions the temperature change. That it feels almost 20 degrees cooler. And she says, I haven't checked the temperature difference. What the heck are you doing in here, Paula?
Paula, come on. But Huell also says, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but you can definitely feel a difference in this place.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that can't pick up temperature on the camera, Huell.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, Paula definitely wasn't naming, or she wasn't counting or checking temperatures of anything, but she was seemingly naming things, which we'll get to, because first, Huell's got to really like get the feel of this place, and he's feeling it enough to throw a "this is amazing" in at 5:15.
Yep. But he also, did you notice he quizzes her?
He did?
Well, kind of. Because he's talking about an oasis.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and says, what does an oasis mean? And Paula, I thought she came up with a pretty good answer. A cool respite in a desert spot.
Yeah.
She said it fairly confidently. And she said, well, that's my best, roundabout best guess.
I mean, that's exactly what I would think.
Well, check this out.
would mean.
Huell uses that same phrase in the narration.
He did,
to this
didn't he?
episode.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe he agreed with it. But technically, a fertile spot in the desert where water is found.
And the water...
That's the tech def.
Yeah. The water temperature, as we were talking about before, all this water, Paul is really like pounding the fact that this is coming up from the San Andreas Fault. We're on the fault. And the water's coming up through these fissures and everything. And it is kind of a cool thing. It's, I think maybe it's cooler in theory than what the camera's picking up on, because you really got to like feel it, which Huell seemed to wish that the camera could do. Like being out in 120 degree weather and then diving into this little palm tree forest and feeling the temperatures drop 20 degrees.
Yeah.
It's probably what old Forestier was trying to do with his underground gardens over in Fresno a couple weeks ago. But this is a natural thing. But Paula mentioned when they were going through some carrizo grass that she calls it the carrizo hallway. Sure, okay. All right, Paula. And then as they like go by a little water area, creek kind of a thing that Huell seems very interested in. Had those pup fish, which...
So I was watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I had the closed caption
Yeah.
on, and YouTube corrects it to poop fish.
And they show the little poop fish at 9 minutes and 35 seconds. And then we go through the more of the hallway because we're going to another oasis. Because remember, there's 13 of them along the fault, I guess?
There's 13. But you notice, before we get to the second one, did you notice what Huell said?
Which time? What did he say?
This second one doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
It's more open. Well, we're not there yet. Although they each have their own personality.
Yeah, and then we learned that Paula, which seems to be her job of giving tours and naming things, names it the cathedral.
That's right. Wait,
All
did
right.
she name it that, or did they kind of...
She said
Okay.
she did, yeah. Well, she and the other tour guides like to call it that, but I think she took the credit for it.
That's funny. You say, okay, so I missed that part. Because towards the end, Huell mentions how there's a spiritual feel to it.
Yeah.
She mentions how there's weddings and whatnot there. And Huell says, yeah, like a cathedral. I thought it was original to Huell.
No. It was Paula.
Darn.
Oh, man. Again, they're just kind of standing around in this place for a while. And I feel like maybe Huell, at the end of the cathedral bit, said, all right, Paula, what else you got here? And she's like, we can I'll take you to the biggest body of water that's out here.
But don't you dare swim in it. Whoa.
So this thing she calls a pond.
The Simony McCollum Pond.
This thing barely qualifies as that.
Yeah.
It is tiny and pretty green and mucky, and I don't know why she would ever think that Huell would want to put himself in it, but I guess it must be an issue. Because, there's probably a lot of like desert weirdos going out here trying to swim with the pup fish or the poop fish.
The poo fish. What I thought was interesting was Huell, he sort of didn't like her, what do you want to call this? Her command, her warning, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said, but Indians swam in there.
True.
And I thought that was a good response because she kept saying, well, this is protected. This, don't you dare. And he's like, well, didn't the original people who, were in this area, didn't they swim in there? So, yeah, but times are different now.
It's also funny because before, during the little creek bit, she mentions that the pupfish were reintroduced there because they think they might have been there. Because at this point, they're only native to the Salton Sea.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, it was a little throwaway thing that she said there. So you're trying to protect these fish in a spot that you think maybe they were. Paula, come on. You didn't even count the trees.
Or know the temperature differentials.
I know. Either way, I think Huell had to stretch this little segment to its limit. I think we've stretched it to our limit. We need to get the heck out of here, get back into the city part of the desert. So, Huell, where are you going now?
You never know for sure what you're going to find when you visit the desert. It's full of all kinds of wonderful and strange sights. And in our quest in search of another historic way used to keep cool in the desert, we next headed down the highway about 20 miles from the Oasis to the desert community of Indio. Now, we had heard that the good people of Indio back in the early 1900s had invented something that in fact did keep them cool, and they had given it a strange name. We had also heard that one of these unique contraptions with a strange name was in fact on display back behind the local museum.
So here we are in old Indio. I forgot, we did this 5 times last episode. Have you ever been to any of these spots?
These spots?
Not, well, specifically and generally, like Indio.
Indio,
Coachella
yeah, I had
Valley.
an uncle that lives in Indio.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't suspect that you actually have been to that Oasis right there. But
have you been?
Just those times I went to Coachella, which, that's kind of doesn't really count because you don't do anything. You just
Right, you just have backstage passes and meet cool people.
Oh, sorry, I hung out with Beyonce.
Is she taller or shorter in person?
She is taller than in person. I didn't actually hang out with Beyonce. I saw her walk by. Yeah, being there is not at all like a real kind of desert town experience because you just go into the self-contained world of that crazy thing, which is so weird to think about that I went there nowadays.
Technically, there was a year, right, when you and Kathleen were there at the same time.
We're
obviously didn't know each other.
Yeah. We suspect so. We need to like actually sit down and look at the lineups and really pinpoint which one it was. Because I don't remember. Did she go more than once?
Yeah, I think a few years.
Okay,
3
yeah.
years.
Me too. I think I went 4 years in a row and then skipped like 7 years and then went again. But yeah. But you know, there's like 150,000 people there, so we might have. It is weird to think about. I think about that kind of stuff all the time. Like, how many times did we see each other at like, you know, King Leo's Pizza before when we were 11 and like fighting over the whatever Ninja Turtles arcade game?
Yeah, it's Cruisin' USA.
Yeah. Either way, the Coachella Valley Museum and Cultural Center is where we are this time, the specific spot. And I know you haven't been here. I haven't been here, but I kind of want to go here because this kind of reminds me of our museum isn't little, but like our history museum in town, in that there's all this like stuff on the outside.
Yeah. It almost reminded me of Kernville, the museum up there.
Yeah.
A bit, but it's kind of like a mix of both. A little bit bigger than Kernville.
Well, we definitely get a real, a warm welcome in this section by old Art Lalonde. Art Lalonde.
I said Lalonde.
Lalonde. He never says it. It's just scrolled underneath his name. But he's kind of like our tour guide for the day. And it's funny because there's like a semicircle of like 8 dudes.
It's the greeting committee.
Yeah, and we mostly just talked to Art and then the dude who tied the cicadas together. Because you hear this like rattling sound in the background the whole time, which is the cicadas, which if you don't know, they're just little grasshopper type insects. And Homeboy in the corner says that he used to tie 2 of them together and see which way they went. Pretty cruel, huh? Yeah, bro. Don't admit that. This is TV. But either way, we're all here to, I guess, learn all about the desert submarine, which is not something I ever thought I would want to know about. But here we go.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I like that Huell wants to just like get back in there, but Art's like, yeah, no, Huell, we got to take the long way. I want to show you everything. And Huell's doing his best to humor Art. He's like, oh, you guys have got a lot of good stuff back here. So where's this submarine? Let's come on, Art.
And he keeps touching his lower back, too, to keep him moving.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is the, what is it? When we get to the blacksmith shop.
Mm-hmm.
Art literally says, oh, this is the blacksmith shop. Huell points at it, doesn't even look at it. He keeps walking.
He did that on the episode we did in Fresno. Jeremy mentioned it when he said about the icebox. He's like, Huell's like pointing but not looking as he's just moving on down the road to the next thing.
So anybody that's interested, that's at 1750.
Mm-hmm.
Around then, I thought it was super funny.
My favorite thing is that there's the little cat Cleo that Huell does the same thing to, and Louis has to quit pan down to check out this cat. But then finally, Huell corrals Art to the main event here,
And he's just surprised.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think I was too.
Oh, that's it?
Because at first glance, it's a tiny barn-shaped shed type structure Not at all like any submarine I've ever seen or heard of. But this is what it is. It is a small shack-like structure.
Yeah.
It just happens to have wet burlap on the side of it that causes evaporative cooling to occur. So it definitely not the most exciting thing that's ever been on California's Gold. And yeah.
I was going to say, but one of the most exciting things is Art explaining evaporation.
Yes.
So he has Huell. That's Huell. It's Huell suck on his finger.
Yeah.
Or lick his finger, then hold it in the air. You feel that?
It's cool.
So this gave me another flashback. You know that I love seasons 1 and 2 of Dual Survival.
Oh, yeah.
Best ever. 3 without Dave, I don't know about that. And without Cody, is this even a show? So, they've probably said this fact, and I'm going off of Dual Survival, this fact maybe 25 times. It'll make more sense why I said that in a second. It's that when your body's wet, it cools 25 times faster. This just your body cools 25, than when it's dry. So this was a big deal on the show, either if you wanted to cool off or if you were wet in the cold.
Okay.
So there it is. So maybe I don't know.
That's good stuff.
Maybe.
My favorite thing about Art's description is when he's saying exactly how the shack works in comparison to the finger. He says you got to put moisture on a product.
That's right.
Why, of all terms, would he call this burlap sheet over the side a product?
Maybe because they had just bought it.
Yeah, true. You got to put the moisture on the product, and with the hot weather, it evaporates. And yeah, it is just burlap material that they put on the side of this, and that is what they used. But Art explains that they used to just get onion sacks, potato sacks, and use that. And he's trying to get Huell to go to the other side because he's real excited because they actually have an old onion sack as one of the pieces, which Huell, can you like sense his desperation a little bit in this?
Yeah.
Because he goes into it and he's like, "Oh, this is really small," and then Art's like, "Well, this is one of the big ones," and he was like standing there with his hand on his hip, just like, yeah, okay, let's get the show on the road, bros."
But Art does drop a fact, something that Paula didn't do, and that when it's real low humidity, the temperature differential is between 30 and 40 degrees. Mm-hmm. So that was a nice fact. You actually got some hard numbers on that.
But when it's not dry weather, the whole thing just doesn't work.
You're just screwed. Which is basically what he said in July.
So Huell obviously knew, okay, I need more here. So he gets hooked up with the Roman brothers.
Dude, the Roman boys.
So the Roman brothers take Huell down the street to their property, which sounds like was their dad's house, maybe the house they grew up in, and they've all inherited it.
He just blew. I thought this whole time that the older one was their dad.
I don't think so.
Is there any way the dad could be the brother?
Maybe. Either way, the Roman brothers, led by Bob, trailed with Dan and Robert Roman, showed the fact that they still have one of these old desert submarines on their property, and hoo boy, these guys are really interesting. You know, now I'm looking at him, Bob may be the dad. Maybe the grandpa was the...
Okay.
I can't... Because Dan and Robert are both, like, visibly younger than Bob here. Dan, though. He's I called him a mulleted relative of some sort because they never explain who is who in any of this.
Well, you totally, yeah. What I went with is I called it a dirty pony versus the clean pony.
My favorite part of his little mulleted ponytail he's got is that his little hair tie is neon green.
Yeah. Because how do I have him down here? I said mullet with a dirty pony. He has long jean shorts, which when someone calls them jean pants, I get it. And he has boots with white socks above it, so he's set up.
And then old Robert has to like get his little 2 cents in real quick, and I don't know if he felt like he was getting the short shrift of this whole interview because he constantly is trying to like get in the camera shot and get his little 2 cents in. Maybe it's because he's got like the full ponytail going.
I was going to say, did Shawn Michaels have that too, where his buzz sort of where the temple?
Bro, let me tell you something.
Okay.
Yes. Also, Rob Van Dam.
That's right.
When I decided when I was 14 that it was time for me to have long hair, which I stuck with until I was 17, I too had the little buzz around the side and bottom.
You focused on such a different aspect of Shawn Michaels. When I was a kid, I took my mom's earrings and I would hang them on the inside of my ear.
Which is funny because I don't think he had his ears pierced either. He might have been doing the same thing.
Well, he probably has some clip-ons.
True.
My mom her clip-on earrings were super ugly though. Like I wanted the dangly ones he had. Yes, I had to hang them inside my ear.
Oh man, we were some sexy boys, that's for sure. So Huell really does not want to let this whole thing go. He wanted to talk to old Jerry Strasberg, who actually lived in one of these sweat boxes or submarines. Submarines.
Like sweat box.
And apparently, back in 1942, old Jerry needed to move his wife out here for her health, which I hear all the time. I hear people, maybe not so much these days, but move out to the desert for your health. Like, what's the logic behind that, you think?
So I know that, Kathleen's grandma, they're from the East Coast. Winters are pretty brutal. She has a bad hip. They said, it's good for your arthritis.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I can buy that. So, the interview with Jerry, he's kind of just telling his story. He's got his white belt, his white hat. He kind of looks like Frank Costanza a little bit. He's just talking about how they moved here. They were looking for an apartment, couldn't get one because General Patton had his army training going on because it was World War II days. So they had to get in this submarine. And, it's horrible, so hot and everything. So after 6 weeks... They moved out and found an apartment. Homeboy is getting to be on TV for living in this thing for 6 weeks.
Well, just for 1 month and 2 weeks.
Yeah. Didn't even pay a whole 2 months rent. Second little tidbit of things going on here is that as Jerry is telling his long story about how horrible it is, the current tenant takes the trash out or something.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, because it's like they're standing by it and there's a wall and a gate within the wall, and the current tenant just kind of walks on through, and you could just see on her face she's like, what the heck are you doing in my alley right now? Because it's pretty obvious that this thing is still being lived in. And I highly doubt that this poor lady would like this old fool hanging out back here talking about those horrible 6 weeks he had before he got his apartment.
He's like, I finally got out of this dump.
Right?
No, there's something that, what's his name? Jerry?
Yeah.
With a G? That Jerry says, oh yeah, it's right there. trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, it had the roof, but not that top part right there."
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Oh,
So,
Jerry.
well, it looks like Jerry did okay for himself.
Yeah. Who knows, though? Maybe he's still in that apartment.
Well, he said he had swamp coolers. Well, once he had a swamp cooler, he was in heaven.
True.
That was the phrase he used.
You know, I've lived in numerous places that had swamp coolers, and that word was never what I would describe it as.
Dude, grew up with a swamp cooler the first 23 years of my life.
I know.
Should get yelled at from the back of the house at 3 a.m. Turn it on. We need to keep it cool.
Either way,
Good stuff. Good childhood.
yeah, that kind of wraps it up. Huell doesn't mess around with this one. It's just slamming, bamming. And he ends it where he started it, where he was crawling in the desert, but he must have had to change his white shirt because he got it all dirty with it, doing his acting. But there's absolutely no music or anything going on during this outro.
Yeah.
Just
what are you going to call it? A cold out?
I guess so. It's just funny because he's just standing there talking about things being cool and keeping cool, and it's going to be cooler next week and all this stuff. But it's funny because he looks really cool standing there. Like, not temperature. He's obviously blazing hot. But he's just got that polo that he's always rocking with the guns firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, boy. Huell, you the man. Well, is that it?
I think that's it.
Another one in the books. Number 51.
Well, another season in the books, too.
You got that right. This was a good one. I gotta say, it didn't have a consistency that some other seasons had. Now, I gotta tell you, next season really is going to make up for that. That's my humble opinion. Because not only are we starting off with a bang next week, we're visiting our home county more than once this coming season. Because right off the bat, we're going to Weed Patch, which is, if you haven't heard of it, go read Grapes of Grath, I said.
Grapes of Graphs.
Grapes of Wrath, and you're going to know all about it. We got center of California. We got oil takes place in Taft. We're all over the place. And then the scariest episode I've ever seen, Folsom Prison. Huell goes in Folsom Prison itself, behind the bars with the inmates.
Yeah,
It's
sketch.
It's wild stuff. We're also visiting Knott's Berry Farm. We're all over the place this next season. And we can't wait. We're not going to do any of these in-betweeners this time. Because we know that people don't seem to really like them that much. To be honest, sometimes y'all seem to just skip right over those. And that's fine. Because we're just as happy going through the meat of these episodes and these seasons, just slamming through. So that's what we're doing. Next week, we're heading to Weed Patch. It's also almost our 1-year anniversary.
That's right. What's the exact date?
January 8th is
8th,
when
that's
we
8th, yeah.
did it, but that's gonna fall on a Monday. So January 7th, so 2 weeks from now, will be our 1-year anniversary show.
That's fun.
Maybe we'll do something a little special on that day.
Like go out to dinner? Oh, you mean us?
Yeah.
Oh, you people. Okay. I see.
Like we can do whatever we want in our outside of the show lives, but maybe even throw a guest on or two.
Yeah,
See what happens.
that sounds good.
We'll let you know next week. We got to talk about it. Either way, we hope you come along with us next week and every week as we continue our search for Huell's Gold.